What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I can finally showcase Kingambit, a Pokemon with probably the most annoying evolution requirement, where you have to win 15 raids against Dark or Steel type raid bosses with Bishop equipped as your buddy. Now since it came out, I'm actually not entirely sure that there has always been a Dark or Steel type raid boss available to battle against, and often when there have been some in rotation, they're absolutely awful Pokemon that you 100% would not want to raid unless you had Bishop equipped as your buddy. Now that was until this weekend, where of course Zacian and Zamazenta have been available in raids in their crown formers for the Global Go Fest. Of course, Pawniard got buffed this season with Fury Cutter, and Kingambit actually learns Metal Sound, so I figured I'd just run the entire evolution line together. Now shout out to the couple of trainers that ran this team for the Battle of Spice a few weeks ago. Of course, that was before the new season, so these Pokemon now should be slightly better than they were back then. Now if you click this video to see if Kingambit is actually viable for the Great League, you're probably not going to be able to find out during these battles, just because there are going to be so many Pokemon that this team has literally zero chance in beating. But if you want to see some incredibly entertaining battles, this is absolutely the video for you. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What is your favorite 3-stage evolution line in terms of their actual design? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Pawniard into Annihilate, and we've got a very easy strategy here up against Annihilate. We are going to instantly hit that top left button. There is just nothing we can do there at all, but GG's to that trainer. And I do want to stress, these are absolutely hand-picked battles. I lost so many games with this team up against teams like that, where we saw a Shadow Annihilate in the lead and I just have to concede immediately. But anyways, into the next battle, and a much better lead matchup for me. They're now going to say swap into a Shadow Palkia, so I'm going to stay in with the Pawniard. We don't really have much fast move pressure aside from the Pawniard up against the Shadow Palkia, as Metal Sound is resisted, and Snarl from the Bishop just doesn't hit very hard. So at this point, we fire off another Night Slash, we get the KO, we get the boost, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to come in with a shiny Shadow Kanto Marowak, and suddenly things went really good, and suddenly now they are looking really bad for me. Of course, Mudslap is going to shred through the Bishop. I actually swap out there, predicting the opponent might try and catch a Dark Pulse, and as a result, it works out perfectly for me. Bishop and Kingambit going to completely wall the moves from this Arbok. The opponent fires off the Acid Spray first, then the Dark Pulse, but I'm able to tank it. We come out with the Focus Blast loaded, so we are absolutely full sending it. Focus Blast grabs the final shield. The opponent was one away from another Bone Club, so we go for the extra Snarl. Dark Pulse gets the KO up against the shiny Shadow Kanto Marowak, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's upon there into the next battle. We're going to see a Jellicent in the lead. So, of course, a great lead matchup for me. The opponent is going to choose to stay in with their Jellicent, at least initially. Of course, they will be able to tank a Night Slash reasonably comfortably, and I'm not going to be able to Fury Cutter farm them down, as it is resisted damage. But at this point, I'm also going to no shield. They do fire off the Surf there. I'm now going to overfarm, throw another Night Slash on the CMP tie here, winning CMP and actually grabbing a shield from the opponent. Now, I was not going to shield here, but then we get the attack boost, so now I feel like I kind of have to shield. The opponent's going to swap into Gastrodon, so once again, another Mud Slapper. We fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash does respectable damage there. Of course, we were boosted. I'm now going to overfarm, throw on the CMP tie with the potential Earth Power. However, from this range, Body Slam probably gets the KO. However, I do grab the final shield from the opponent, and the opponent does actually bait with that Body Slam. So I'm now going to wait out my switch shot, come in with the Kingambit, and Kingambit is actually the bulkiest Pokemon on this team. It's not bulky, but it is bulkier than the Pawniard and a lot bulkier than the Bishop. But the opponent actually swaps out. They catch the charge move there. I was going to go for 2 Metal Sounds and then throw the move. So I go for a slight undercharge. It actually doesn't work out as well as I was hoping for. They come back in with the Gastrodon. I'm firing off the Foul Play immediately. Foul Play gets the KO there, and their final Pokemon is a Forret, and I'm able to swap out, catch the Body Slam, and if Kingambit can reach a Focus Blast, we might have a slither of hope here, and Kingambit just barely gets there, winning CMP. We've got 1 HP and a Dream, and Focus Blast gets the one shot up against the Forret, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Pawniard into a Shadow Kanto Marowak. We've actually already beaten 2 Mud Slappers with this team. This time I tried to throw here. I don't know why. It just did not go through at all. So I'm, of course, going to have to shield up the Bone Club here. Fire off the Night Slash after 2 Fury Cutters. Night Slash actually going to be shielded by the opponent. And I actually just barely hang on with 1 HP once again. Fire off a second Night Slash. And we do at least put them into Metal Sound farm down range. At this point, of course, coming in with the Kingambit, we can shield the Bone Club. Then commit to the full farm down there. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to come in with a Shadow Fortress. So we are going to go and fire off a Foul Play here. Foul Play is not going to do that much damage, but it does grab the final shield. So I'm going to bank the energy, come in with my Bishop. I was hoping I could swap out and outpace them before they reach a Rock Tomb and debuff my attack. However, that is not the case there. So, of course, we're now going to fire off the Dark Pulse. We've been debuffed there. It does not do that much damage. But I am 1 away from the next Foul Play. So I'm going to fire this off straight away. Foul Play gets the KO, and I need something with no fast speed pressure, and we have exactly that. However, I need to reach a Focus Blast, and we are definitely not getting there in time. Sparkling Aria from the Lapras takes out my Kingambit, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But into the next battle, and speaking of Lapras, we're going to see it in the lead this time around. So this is well, it should be a good matchup for me, of course. Triple resisting the fast move damage. However, Sparkling Aria is going to do quite a lot of damage here. Pawniard, as I already mentioned, not particularly bulky. Sparkling Aria does huge damage there, and I will fire off an Iron Head now. I realize Night Slash just barely won't quite get the KO there, so Iron Head does take them out. They come in with Komo-O, and unfortunately, I don't know if I would live and reach an Iron Head, so I fire off the Night Slash. The opponent's gonna no shield, but that chip damage should actually allow me now to shield once and then commit to a Foul Play here. They fire off the Dragon Claw there, so I don't know what their secondary charge move is, but we're going to fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play gonna be shielded by the Komo-O. And at this point, I am going to double shield my Kingambit. The opponent fires off a second Dragon Claw, baiting me twice there. But we can now fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play from this range will get the KO. They save their final shield for their final Pokemon, which is going to be a Dusknoir. But, of course, we've got 2 Pokemon, well, 3 Pokemon technically, if we're able to make a catch, with that Pawniard that are going to resist the Ghost typing. However, we're going to take double super effective from a Dynamic Punch. Foul Play does huge damage. We're just going to stay in here, force the opponent to throw their energy from this range. Shadow Punch does get the KO, but they're 1 away from the Dynamic Punch, which means Snarl gets the KO from that Bishop, and I'm able to take that game. But into the next battle, GG's to opponent, by the way. We're going to see a Shadow Dragonite. They're going to say swap into a Steelix, which is okay-ish for me. I guess if the opponent is running Earthquake, then that can be very problematic for me, but they're probably going to be on Breaking Swipe and Psychic Fangs, maybe. So we're going to stay in this matchup here, fire off 2 Night Slashes, and at this point, they farmed up to the Earthquake, but I'm going to no-shield anyways, and the opponent baits with a Psychic Fangs that is triple resisted. That does not do much damage whatsoever. Going to stay in once again, and again, they go for the Psychic Fangs there, which is fine with me. We can fire off another Night Slash now. Night Slash doesn't get the KO. We're going to swap into Bishop. The opponent does bank some energy before swapping into a Shadow Swampert. Now things are getting tricky for us. We fire off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse grabs the first shield from the opponent, but very good timing there, throwing just as we are reaching a second Dark Pulse. I kind of need to shield this because I've got so much energy, but now the opponent, if they want to, they can just double shield and commit to a full Mudshot farm down. They've got a lot of energy here. I believe they are 2 away from back-to-back charge moves. So we're going to come in with that Kingambit. The opponent fires off 1 Mudshot. So they should be 1 away from the next Hydro Cannon. I'm going to swap into Pawniard, try to catch the move. And the opponent, brilliant catch there, realizing I would just barely reach a last-second Night Slash. We get the unnecessary boost. They come in with the Shadow Dragonite. And unfortunately, I don't think I can win this game. But we're going to fire off the Foul Play at the last second. Foul Play does not get the KO, and they live with 1 HP and a dream. This will be the superpower. It's double super effective. And unfortunately, Kingambit goes down there, and we do lose that game. However, of course, if I did get the farm down, they had the Hydro Cannon loaded anyway. So GG's to that trainer. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Frost Sash in the lead. So I'm going to go straight for the Night Slash here. Night Slash going to be shielded. And again, I was not going to shield in this matchup. However, since we get the boost, that's almost compulsory now to shield or even double shield my Pawniard. So we're going to fire off a second Night Slash here. Night Slash with that boost easily gets the KO there. And the opponent's now going to come in with a Galissapod. So I'm now going to overfarm here, fire off the Night Slash just before the opponent does reach an Aqua Jet. Night Slash grabs the final shield, and the opponent underestimates the energy on the Pawniard. We reach another Night Slash before they farm me down. And their final Pokemon is a Shadow Malamar, and Pawniard gets a full 1v3 sweep to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Regidrago, shiny Regidrago at that, in the lead. So, we're going to stay in this match, of course. The entire team's going to be fine here. I am a little bit worried that Dragon Energy would do quite a lot of damage, but I probably can no-shield in this matchup here. So I'm going to no-shield. The opponent's going to fire off a Breaking Smite bait. Even that does quite a lot of damage. They debuff my attack here, so going to fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash is going to be shielded by the opponent. We get the boost there. It has to be swapped out, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I don't know if I would have reached another Night Slash. So this one I do shield, respect the damage from that Dragon Energy, but the opponent does not throw it. However, I am full sending the Focus Blast. Focus Blast is unfortunately shielded by Credilli there. Of course, they were going to shield. Now they can go for a debuff with that Rock Tomb. So I definitely should have just baited with a foul play. However, this is still okay here. I'm going to fire off the next charge move once again on CMP, winning CMP. And foul play, unfortunately, not going to do too much damage now as I have been debuffed. However, Rock Tomb does not get the KO, so I swap back into Pawniard. I'm waiting for the opponent to try and swap back into their Regidrago. We do not take any damage from the Dragon Breath. We get the KO there. And their final Pokemon is going to be a Victory Bell. So, of course, we tank the acid as it's double resisted. We do barely reach a Night Slash. We can come in with the Bishop, and I can tank anything they throw here. So I'm going to no-shield the first move as they go for the Leaf Blade. Maybe could have committed to a full Snarl Farm down there, but instead, we're going to fire off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse gets the KO there. And of course, the opponent needs back-to-back charge moves to get the KO. They're not going to get there in time. And so they're to Snarl, farm them down, and take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Wigglytuff in the lead. So, this is pretty much the only reason why I'm running Iron Head on my Pawniard here, because I need coverage up against Fairies. The opponent gonna shield that. So, I swap into Kingambit, and unfortunately, baiting out a Skeledirge. However, I am very fast to the charge move, so gonna fire off the first foul play here. Foul play, gonna be shielded. The opponent committing to the full farm down there means I reach a second foul play, and that does huge damage. You can see not the best CP or stat product on that Skeledirge. Only 1458 CP there. So I'm hoping I can come in with the Bishop and now go for a full Snarl farm down. We get that farm down. I don't know what they've got in the back though. I'm maybe thinking possibly double fire. So the opponent reaches the charge reef. I should live a Swift pretty comfortably, but I'm actually going to shield this. I'm now going to overfarm here just in case the opponent does have a second fire type in the back. I want to at least reach a Dark Pulse. Iron Head gets the KO there, but they've got a Azumarill in the back, and now I make a pretty big mistake here. I tried to throw the Iron Head on the CMP tie, however, the opponent does not throw straight away, and as a result, you're going to see I'm going to just barely miss out on a Night Slash. If I throw a better time in there, of course, we get to the Night Slash, and that Night Slash will be enough chip damage to put them into range where hopefully the Iron Head would have got the KO, but unfortunately, throwing on poor timing there means play rough, gets the KO, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Dedenne in the lead now. This Pokemon is just so annoying to deal with if you do not have any like super effective or even neutral fast move pressure with your team. Of course, I can now go for an Iron Head here. They've already boosted up their defense and they might even shield the first charge move here. They do exactly that. So now I'm going to swap into my Kingambit. Of course, we do have neutral Metal Sound damage here, but they're now double boosted in their defense. It's really not looking too good here. I'm going to farm up. I'm going to go close to the Focus Blast. Unfortunately, we don't quite get there, but Kingambit should be able to live a Parabolic Charge relatively comfortably here. So I'm once again going to try and farm up, try and reach that Focus Blast, but again, we just narrowly miss out there. So settling for the foul play. Foul play, still not enough damage to get the KO. However, I do have a one-turn fast move, so I'm hoping I can come in with my Pawniard, even though it's resisted damage, get the farm down, but I don't know if I will get there. So instead, firing off the last second Night Slash. Night Slash gets the KO, but this entire time they had a Primeape in the back anyway, so that was all for nothing, as the opponent can easily run through my team with that Primeape, as I had 0 shields remaining. But anyways, GG's to that trainer. Into the next battle, we're going to see Battle of the Fury Cutter users as we lead into a Galissapod. Now, of course, I will outpace them to the charge move just barely with Night Slash, but the opponent is going to do a lot more damage there, so the opponent fires off the Alpha Jet before swapping into Sableye, and this is actually a fine matchup for me. We fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash does decent damage, and this should now grab a shield from the opponent. Night Slash number 2 does grab that shield back, and at this point the opponent is going to fire off the charge move. The opponent fires off a power gem there for some reason. I don't really know why. Of course, foul play is also resisted, but that means I should resist everything now. So I let that go through. Again, they go for the power gem. Fine with me. That's non-stab damage. And they come in with a Galarian Moltres. So I'm full sending the Focus Blast. Focus Blast does huge damage. I'm now going to swap out there. Actually, no, never mind. The opponent's going to swap out there as they do come in with Gallitapod. We've got the foul play banked. So I'm going to swap into my Bisharp. Bisharp should just barely live an Aqua Jet here and hopefully be able to commit to a full Snarl farm down. X-Scissor they actually go for instead, which does slightly less damage. That maybe is enough for me to live it now. I think maybe Aqua Jet takes us out there, but it doesn't matter as now we got the foul play loaded. We win CMP with the Kingambit, and of course, foul play, even resisted, takes out the shiny Moltres, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top in there into next battle. You can see a Pangoro in the lead. So, of course, this is an awful matchup for me. My only win condition is if the opponent no shields in this matchup, but also goes for a Night Slash bait. The opponent goes for Night Slash there, which I'm able to just barely hang on and fire off an Iron Head. Iron Head is going to be no shielded, so now, actually, we might have some play here, but I need to call, is this a close combat? I don't think they've got the energy, so I no shield. It is just a Night Slash, but they've got a second really strong answer to my team with a, of course, Mud Slap Shadow Marowak. So I'm gonna not reach another charge move there. I'm forced to swap into my Bisharp, and this game is absolutely over for me, but I'm still going to try and play this out anyways. The opponent is going to reach back-to-back charge moves. I'm opting to go for the extra Snarl here, and now I'm going to throw at the last second, but they've actually got a Primeape as well. What the heck was that team? Primeape, Pangoro, and a Shadow Kanto Marowak. I had literally zero chance there. So it's actually crazy that I made it as close as it was. But GG's to that trainer. Honestly, don't understand how that team makes any sense whatsoever. But anyways, into next battle, we're going to see a Whiscash in the lead. So the bad leads just continue to come for this team. But we do have a lot more play into a Mud Shot user compared to a Karate Chopper or a Mud Slap user. So we're going to stay in this matchup here. We get the attack boost. And once again, I was not planning on shielding here, but with that attack boost, these Fury Cutters are chunking. However, we are missing out on several fast moves, which is super frustrating, but we will finally fire off a Night Slash. However, I don't think I've put them into range where I can Snarl farm them down. So, of course, Kingambit being the bulkier of the Pokemon in the back, we're going to come in with it here, but the opponent swaps out into Jellicent. So now we're going to bank the energy, come in with the Bisharp. Of course, Kingambit probably does not get the KO with the foul play. However, Bisharp, more attack weighted, and Dark Pulse, a much harder hitting move. We're now going to fire off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse gets the KO up against the Jellicent. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to come in with a Ferrothorn. This is fine with me. We can fire off the Dark Pulse. Unfortunately, not running Focus Bars on my Bisharp, but Dark Pulse does big damage. I'm now going to swap, catch the charge move there. I actually don't really know why I did that. I could have just fired off another Dark Pulse, as foul play doesn't quite get the KO there, but I should live anything they can possibly throw here. They actually go for a Power Whip, which is fine with me, and we can outpace the Whiscash just barely to the foul play. Foul play, of course, gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top in there into next battle. We're going to see Pawniard into Dedenne. So, of course, once again, not really ideal for me to see this in the lead here. I'm actually going to swap out into my Metal Sand user just because I need that fast move pressure. I'm going to no-shield this as I can tank a Parabolic Charge. The opponent going to stay in with Dedenne. I actually don't know who wins CMP here, so I'm just going to go play it safe, fire off the foul play before the opponent reaches a second Parabolic Charge. However, the opponent is going to shield that up there, boost up their defense once again, and suddenly things are looking awful for me. I've only got resisted fast move pressure, and they're already double boosted. They're about to be triple boosted in their defense. I don't know what I can do here, but actually, never mind. It doesn't matter because the opponent gives me a way back into this game by clearing that defense boost and swapping into Shadow Amoonguss, a Pokemon that actually I've got a really good matchup against. So I'm going to fire off the Night Slash there. I'm going to shield this up just because I want to see what they throw, and the opponent fires off the foul play. So now we're going to bank this energy, swap one turn before they reach a second foul play, get the Snarl through as we swap out there. And now things are certainly looking so much better for me as we come out with the Iron Head loaded. Let's see what the opponent does. They come back in with the Dedenne. We go straight for the Iron Head. Iron Head isn't the best move, but it does huge damage, and their final Pokemon is a Shadow Astonish Drifblim. So we go straight for the Dark Pulse. We get the one shot there, and we can Snarl, farm down to Dedenne, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's took that trainer there into next battle. We're going to see Pawniard into a Fortress. So this is a okay-ish matchup for me, of course. Fury Cutters are resisted. However, it's a one-turn fast move, so it's not actually that bad for me. You can see they are chunking. We're going to go for the Night Slash there. Night Slash going to be no-shielded. This should not be enough energy for the Earthquake, so I'm going to no-shield. It is actually a Rock Tomb, which will allow them to live this Night Slash fairly comfortably, but I'm now going to swap into my... Never mind, I'm actually not going to swap out there. I'm going to let them take me out there, come in with the Bishop, and I actually don't think I will tank a move particularly comfortably. They fire off the Sand Tomb there. I then swap out, and the opponent swaps at the same time, and that is really awkward for me because, unfortunately, they get a 0-turn swap, whereas my swap is a 1-turn swap. So now they're ahead on energy. I'm never going to outpace them to the charge views. We fire off the foul play. But unfortunately, a Shadow for Alligator with Hydro Cannon will get the KO here, and they're going to outpace my Bishop as well now as well. What I say as well several times there, I don't have a clue. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Dark Pulse grabs the final shield. They can now outpace me to the next Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon gets the KO there very comfortably. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG so far there into possibly the final battle of this video, and honestly, one of the craziest Pokemon I've ever seen powered up in the Go Battle League, as you will see later in this battle. But the opponent's going to stay in initially, swapping out into Skarmory. I fire off the Night Slash there, hoping that will put them into range where a Dark Pulse from my Bishop will get the KO. We're going to throw just before they reach a potential Brave Bird, but it doesn't quite get the KO there, and they do barely hang on once again with 1 HP and a Dream. They full send the Brave Bird, and I didn't actually show this, but in a previous battle, I actually lost a matchup up against a Skarmory because they landed the Brave Bird. But here is a level 50 Ghastly. What the heck is that? I, of course, have a Shadow level 50 Ghastly that I've powered up, but I've never seen one on the opposing team, which is really cool to see. We're now, of course, going to swap, catch the move onto my Pawniard, fire off the Iron Head. It doesn't get the KO, but we get that Fury Cutter farm down. They come back in with the Ghastly, but unfortunately for them, I'm just going to completely wall them with all 3 Pokemon. They are, of course, resisting the Fury Cutters. It's still chunking because it is a 1-turn fast move. I think Bishop might have a charge move loaded, but it doesn't really matter. We can come in with the Kingambit. Metal Sound is not super effective, but we're doing a lot of fast move pressure here. Of course, the opponent does not have much of a defense stat. We can no shield. Once again, they fire off the Nightshade this time around. We get the Metal Sound farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.